Hey everybody, happy weekend, happy holidays. Hope you all are doing well. Today I want to make a video here about the twin mill, specifically this casting right here, this new for 2025 Super Twin Mill. And I want to answer the question, or at least put my opinion on this, is that should this casting been called the Twin Mill 4 instead of the Super Twin Mill? Kind of what I'm explaining on this is this casting here, does it kind of follow the line of the Twin Mill 1, Twin Mill 2, the Twin Mill 3, and then would this be the Twin Mill 4? And is it unique enough from these other twin mills to warrant the name Twin Mill 4 instead of Super Twin Mill? So I brought out the Twin Mill. I got from the red line all the way up until kind of your more recent Twin Mill. I brought a 2 out. I bought a tuned Twin Mill, Twin Mill 3, the Twin Mill Jenny, and now the new Super Twin Mill. So we're going to walk through all these, and then we'll do some comparisons between this Super Twin Mill and these other Twin Mill castings, and we will make a final determination as, hey, should this have really been Twin Mill 4, and is it continuing the line? So, starting off with the OG, the original Twin Mill. Obviously, one of the faces of Hot Wheels, maybe the face of Hot Wheels. Definitely for me would be in like the top 3 faces of Hot Wheels. This is a casting that's been around since 1969, since the Red Line era, and it has been going on up until today. Actually, pretty interesting history around this one here. So here's your original Red Line Twin Mill. So this is from 1969, and it's in this like really cool like aqua color. It's got those red line tires. It's got those dual engines sticking out. It's a metal on metal casting. It's got the Spectre Flame paint, and it's really it has that 60s kind of styling to it. You know, this actually reminds me a lot of like some of those futuristic cars that they would have in the 60s, or like those race cars, like maybe like a Ferrari P4 or some of those like old Porsches. Plus like muscle styling, right? So it's kind of those worlds put together. Then I think they got rid of it for a lot of years, and then it started coming back as like a special car in the 90s. So I have this version. This is from like an anniversary set series. It's like a 4-pack. This has a Goodyear tires on it. Hot Wheels branding on it. And yeah, this is from the 90s. So it was only brought in, actually, switch. This was only brought in for special occasions. So I think it was like for special series, or maybe as like a special like promo car or something like that. They weren't just putting this thing in the main line. That was reserved for a car that we'll come to a little bit later. But the Twin Mill was around, and certainly, you know, in terms of differences, there's not too many between these, but there, you know, you can definitely see that there's some. You know, the base is a little different on those two. You look at the front and the engines, there's not too much difference between these two. No, I would say the interiors are pretty much identical. The back, again, we're looking pretty similar here. So it's a pretty similar casting, but it's not exactly the same, I would say. Certainly it's gone through like a couple of changes here and there, even between, I would say, the first version, and then this is like your second version of the Twin Mill. Then you've got like this version. So this is the Hot Wheels World Race version. And this one, again, different base. It looks like it's modified. So this is kind of the one that they were using more in the 2000s. And then, I don't remember what year it was, it might have been 2007 or so, they had Twin Mill come back in the main line. So this one here is even different than the ones we've previously seen. Look, again, different base that's on this one. The back looks slightly different, pretty much the same. It's got the metal base, the metal body, and then it's got the plastic engines here. But this one was brought back for like I think it was a series that was specifically for Redline's coming back to the main line. So they brought back like the Demon, for example, was another one. Like Kick the Slide Kick was another one of these Redline era castings that they brought into the 2000s, and this was one of them. So this was the first time we've seen that back in the main line since here, since it was a Redline. Then I also pulled these two. So this is kind of like now your more modern twin mill, where there certainly is, you know, a difference in some of the interior and some of the base and things like this. So this one is from 2014. This is a retool. This is one of the premium versions. This is the Boulevard. And although a lot of it's the same, there are certainly some differences. Like I think the interior, certainly a difference in the interior from the original to the new one. But a lot of the characteristics definitely are the same. And then here's like your modern twin mill, the metal on metal version. It's sleek, it's got a metal on metal base, it's still got those engines that are plastic. And now I don't have the newest version of the twin mill, but that's actually like been like the big rehaul, retool version, which has now a plastic base. And I think that one there, you're gonna see a lot of differences between these and that one. I just can't do the plastic base. I think I had one in my collection, and then I just got rid of it because it's not the same. It's not the same. I think they're still doing the metal version, like in like multi-packs and like I think the Let's Race 5-pack has it, and then maybe also like the Hot Wheels like Legends 4 6-packs. I think you can get a metal on metal version of twin mill still. But in terms of the main line, if it's going to be in there, it's going to be that plastic version, unfortunately, the plastic base. And this already, the reason that this one survived for so long, being a metal on metal car when all the rest of those cars are gone, was just because it was so thin, right? And it doesn't weigh much more than your typical metal body, plastic base casting. So it weighs about the same, but now that you've taken the weight out of the base, this is a super light casting, unfortunately now. So anyway, so that's the Twin Mill 1. Then in the 90s, they brought in Twin Mill 2. So you're gonna see there's big differences here. So first of all, the engines, very different, as you can see. These engines are much more aggressive, they're bigger. They don't, like if you're driving this twin mill, it looks like those engines they don't block your view when you're driving. This, on the other hand, like, I don't know how you drive this car. These engines are like sticking out. Then when you look at the side, again, big difference here between these two, big difference. Look at the exhaust pipes. They're coming out in the first version of the casting. The second edition, they're kind of like coming down to the base almost. Then, of course, the body style, so different. This one here, I don't know what they were going for. It's like a tuned look or like what kind of inspired this sort of design. Honestly, it feels like this is like the older version and this could be like more of like an updated version of a twin mill. Because yeah, this one's just like so bulky, and even though it was like released in the 90s, it doesn't feel like a 90s car to me at all. So that's a Twin Mill 2. Look at the back there. The back is again much different. It's much more of like a square body to like the original that was a bit more rounded. The sides are different. This one's got a lot more muscle to it. Certainly is packing a lot more engine. If you put this thing in real life, probably would weigh a lot more. If you look at the front even, big difference. Much chunkier. Chunky. I think that's a good way to, describe this casting. It's a very chunky casting. So, that's those two. That's a Twin Mill 2. Then going to the next casting I have here is the tuned Twin Mill. So this was not Twin Mill 3. And I think the reason for that is it really is this casting, but tuned. You know, so they're not completely redesigning what the twin mill looks like. They're keeping it pretty authentic, you know, although it's, you know, it's a tuned car, it's ridiculous looking, but, you know, it's got the same sort of like cockpit, same sort of idea. The back is pretty similar. The front, the shape of it is similar, but it's tuned, right? So that one there is part of, I think they had what, I don't know how many of those types of cars that they released, maybe 10, like a whole series of those. Not the biggest fan of those hard-nosed castings, but is one from my childhood, so that's why I kept that one around. Then we get to, I think this is 2008, is it? 2007. 2007 or 2008, I'm not sure. The base usually you have to add a year of what the base says for when this was released. And this is a Twin Mill 3. I think Twin Mill 2, honestly, is kind of an uglier casting. It's not the worst casting in the world, but it's certainly not the best. This one's very tasteful, I would say. This one is like a really great upgrade of this guy. And I would say this is one of the best, let's say, second gen cars that, or third gen or whatever, that Hot Wheels has ever done. I think this thing is excellent. So this just makes the original Twin Mill more aggressive. So look at this. Look at these engines, man. So you keep actually some of the original ideas. Like look at that exhaust pipe. Very similar. But then the engines, look how much more aggressive these things are. I mean, just insane. The front, very similar. So now they've gone for more of the original Twin Mill, like kind of sharp nose of the car. The hood of it's very similar. The cockpit, it's the same sort of idea where it kind of wraps around. I don't know how you get into this car. I think you have to lift up the whole front, right? I think that's how it is in the real life Twin Mill. So, okay, so that lines up. That makes sense. But this just looks like so, look at the body style. The body style is completely different. This is so much more aggressive than this guy. And then the backs, you know, not exactly the same, but I would say this is more similar to one another than like the Twin Mill 2 is to the Twin Mill 1. So that casting is certainly like a fan favorite. I think that one's excellent. I'd love to get more versions of it. It's definitely, remember it as a kid, it was such a cool looking casting, and it should be, I think, a bigger deal than it is. So yeah, that one's awesome. Look at those tires too, man. Holy cow. So much power. This one maybe looks like the heaviest and probably has like maybe the most power under the hood. But this one right here is just such a good balance between these two. It really is. It's sleek. It's just as sleek as this, but it looks as powerful as that. So really well done on the Twin Mill 3. Then you got, I think this is 2019, I want to say. Yeah, sorry, 2019. It says 2018 on the base, so it's probably 2019. This is the Twin Mill Jenny. So this is their electric car. So now we don't have any engines that are pointing out. And when you compare it to the original Twin Mill, it does have quite a lot of the similarities. So the cockpit looks the same. The nose looks very similar. The back, pretty much identical in terms of like, especially how the body goes over the wheels. It's very similar. And then just the way the car is like cut. The body is just shaped. It's very similar to the original one. But they did not choose to make this Twin Mill 4. And perhaps the reason of that is because there's no engine sticking out. It's an electric car, so they kind of wanted this to be its own thing. And I think that was probably the right choice. I think this doesn't capture what the Twin Mill is enough to be Twin Mill 4. I think that this, as its own thing, was the right choice. I do like this casting though. I think this casting is really nice. I think it's sleek. I think It looks cool. It looks fast. It doesn't look like a lame electric car. It looks much better than some of the other like electric type cars that Hot Wheels has made for their fantasy line. And it's a nice one to have. It's definitely a nice one. I do like it, but it certainly shouldn't be Twin Mill 4. This, however, this new casting for 2024 or 2025, excuse me. This Twin Mill, Super Twin Mill, I think it is possibly different enough that it could have been the Twin Mill 4. So one, it has to be different enough, but also similar enough. So when we compare these two, the front is pretty similar, but this one's actually a little more aggressive. Actually, it has like some intakes, I think that is, on the hood that this one doesn't have. This one's just the body. So this one, the cuts of this car, definitely more aggressive. Look at this, look at the way it's the stance on it, and it's a bit, I don't want to say it's lowered. I think this is more like just body pieces. It's kind of like a RWB Porsche in a way, where it has like these extra parts of the body that they've added. So that one makes it sit a lot lower. Then, in terms of the cockpits, there's a difference on top, like on the roof of the car. You actually have a piece up here now. Again, probably for airflow, would be my guess. Whereas this does not have that. And then, you look at the back, and I mean, that's really where the differences come here. You got this huge wing. We've never seen a Twin Mill with a wing. So you got this massive wing. You've got a massive part on the back too. Whereas this just stops, right? Right, you know, the wheels are the last thing of that car. It's not the case anymore. There's parts of the body now that are at the end of that car. And even look at that chrome piece, the back. The engines are very similar. I think the engines are pretty much the same. But in terms of everything else, this is a very different casting than this to me. So I think that this one could have warranted being the Twin Mill 4. So what that would mean that this would be the line of the Twin Mill, I think. This should be your Twin Mill 1, your Twin Mill 2, your Twin Mill 3, and your Twin Mill 4. I was actually very skeptical of this casting when I first saw it in pictures. I thought it looked really ugly, but actually seeing it in person, it's pretty awesome. It's a pretty awesome casting. Like, I think this will be maybe, I don't know if it'll be a top 10 casting for me for 2025 for the new models, but it's going to be in that consideration. It's really cool. It's really cool. And if you're a Twin Mill fan, I would certainly say it's worth picking up. You know, I think that the blue is a little bit off. You know, I don't think I would have done the blue on this casting. That body piece is going to make it a little bit difficult, I think, to do like a sleek version of this. But man, some of these recolors that this thing could have, oh, it would be really cool. It would be really cool. So I think they need to go something that's a little bit more less childish, more aggressive. I think that I would do that with this casting. But overall, it's an awesome casting. It's definitely worth your $1. And I'm not sure if it's going to be in Let's Race. I don't watch Let's Race. But, you know, I do like to see some of the pictures and the clips from that show. And they say this thing is in it. I don't know if this thing's going to be in it for the new season or not. Hopefully it is, because I'd love to see it animated. I think it'd be cool. So, thanks you guys for watching. Next video is going to be probably the one where we're going to rank all the 2024 new models. So really excited for that. Thanks guys for watching. Have a great rest of your weekend. Have a happy holidays if I don't talk to you all before that. And take care. Bye-bye now.